It is of such a spacious lofty pitch. Your roof were not sufficient to contain it. Count, this is a riddling merchant for the nonce. He will be here and yet he is not here. How can these contrarieties agree? Talb, that will I show you presently. Winds his horn, drums strike VP a peal of ordnance, enter. Soldiers, how say you, madame, are you now persuaded? That Talbot is but shadow of himself. These are his substance, sinews, arms, and strength, with which he yoketh your rebellious necks, raiseth your cities and subverts your towns, and in a moment makes them desolate. Count, victorious Talbot, pardon my abuse. I find thou art no less than fame hath bruited, and more than may be gathered by thy shape. Let my presumption not provoke thy wrath, for I am sorry that with ruerence I did not entertain thee as thou art. Talb, be not dismayed, fair lady, nor misconster the mind of Talbot, as you did mistake the outward composition of his body. What you haw done hath not offended me, nor other satisfaction do I craw, but onely with your patience that we may taste of your wine and see what cates you haw. For soldiers' stomachs always serry them well. Count, with all my heart and think me honoured to feast so great a warrior in my house. Exeunt. Enter Richard Plantagenet, Warwick, Somerset, Poole, and others. York, great lords and gentlemen, what means this silence? Dare no man answer in a case of truth? Suff, within the temple hall we were too loud. The garden here is more conunient. York, then say at once if I maintain the truth, or else was wrangling Somerset in error. Suff, faith I haw been a truant in the law, and newer yet could frame my will to it, and therefore frame the law vnto my will. Soame, urge you, my lord of Warwick, then between viz. War between two hawks which flies the higher pitch, between two dogs which hath the deeper mouth, between two blades which bears the better temper, between two horses which doth bear him best, between two girls which hath the merriest eye. I haw perhaps some shallow spirit of urgement, but in these nice sharp quillets of the law, good faith I am no wiser than a daw. York, tut tut, here is a mannerly forbearance. The truth appears so naked on my side, that any purblind eye may find it out. Soame, and on my side it is so well apparelled, so clear, so shining, and so evident, that it will glimmer through a blind man's eye. York, since you are tongue-tied and so loth to speak, in dumb significance proclaim your thoughts. Let him that is a true-born gentleman, and stands vipon the honour of his birth, if he suppose that I haw pleaded truth, from off this briar pluck a white rose with me. Soame, let him that is no coward nor no flatterer, but dare maintain the party of the truth, pluck a red rose from off this thorn with me. War I allow no colours, and without all colour of base insinuating flattery, I pluck this white rose with Plantagenet. Suff, I pluck this red rose with young Somerset, and say withal I think he held the right. Vernon, stay lords and gentlemen, and pluck no more, till you conclude that he vipon whose side the fewest roses are cropped from the tree, shall yield the other in the right opinion. Soame, good Master Vernon, it is well obicted. If I haw fewest I subscribe in silence. York and I. Vernon, then for the truth and plainness of the case, I pluck this pale and maiden blossom here, gewing my verdict on the white rose side. Soame, prick not your finger as you pluck it off, least bleeding you do paint the white rose red, and fall on my side so against your will. Vernon, if I, my lord, for my opinion bleed, opinion shall be surgeon to my hurt, and keep me on the side where still I am. Soame, well, come on, who else? Lawyer, unless my study and my books be false. The argument you held was wrong in you. In scene whereof I pluck a white rose too. York, now Somerset, where is your argument? Soame, here in my scabbard, meditating that shall dye your white rose in a bloody red. York, meantime your cheeks do counterfeit our roses, for pale they look with fear, as witnessing the truth on our side. Soame, no Plantagenet, 'tis not for fear but anger that thy cheeks blush for pure shame to counterfeit our roses, and yet thy tongue will not confess thy error. York, hath not thy rose a canker, Somerset? Soame, hath not thy rose a thorn, Plantagenet? York, eye sharp and piercing to maintain his truth, whiles thy consuming canker eats his falsehood. Soame, well, I'll find friends to wear my bleeding roses, that shall maintain what I whore said is true, where false Plantagenet dare not be seen. York, now by this maiden blossom in my hand, I scorn thee and thy fashion, peevish boy. Suff, turn not thy scorns this way, Plantagenet. York, proud pool, I will and scorn both him and thee. Suff, I'll turn my part thereof into thy throat. Soame, away, good William de la Poole. We grace the yeoman by canoeing with him. Warwer, now by gods will thou wrongstee him, Somerset. His grandfather was Lionel, Duke of Clarence, third son to the 3rd Edward, King of England. Spring crestless yeomen from so deep a root. York, he bears him on the place's privilege, or durst not for his crown heart say thus. Soame, by him that made me, I'll maintain my words. On any plot of ground in Christendom, was not thy father, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, for treason executed in our late king's days? And by his treason stand'st he not thou attainted, corrupted and exempt from ancient gentry? His trespass yet lies guilty in thy blood. Until thou be restored, thou art a yeoman. York, my father was attached, not attainted, condemned to die for treason, but no traitor. And that I'll prow on better men than Somerset, were growing time once ripened to my will. For your partaker, Poole, and you yourself, I'll note you in my book of memory, to scourge you for this apprehension. Look to it well and say you are well. Soame, thou shalt find these ready for thee still, and know these by these colours for thy foes. For these my friends in spite of thee shall wear. York, and by my soul this pale and angry rose, as cognizance of my blood-drinking hate, will I for you and my faction wear, until it wither with me to my graw, or flourish to the height of my degree. Suff, go forward and be choked with thy ambition, and so farewell until I meet thee next. Enter. Soame, haw with thee, Poole, farewell ambitious Richard. Enter. York, how I am browed and must perforce endure it. Warwer, this blot that they obaked against your house shall be whipped out in the next Parliament, called for the truce of Winchester and Gloucester. And if thou be not then created York, I will not leave you to be accounted Warwick. Meantime, in signal of my low to thee, against proud Somerset and William Poole, will I vipon thy party where this rose. And here I prophesy, this brawl today, grown to this faction in the Temple Garden, shall send between the red rose and the white 1,000 souls to death and deadly night. York, good Master Vernon, I am bound to you, that you on my behalf would pluck a flower. In your behalf still will I wear the same. Lawyer, and so will I. York, thanks gentle. Come, let these four to dinner, I dare say. This quarrel will drink blood another day. Exeunt. Enter Mortimer, brought in a chair and Eilers. Mort, kind keepers of my weak decaying age. Let dying Mortimer here rest himself. Ewan like a man new hailed from the rack. So fair my limbs with long imprisonment. And these grey larks, the pursuance of death. Nestor like aged in an age of care. Argue the end of Edmund Mortimer. These eyes like lamps whose wasting oil is spent. Wax dim as drawing to their exigent. Weak shoulders, hour born with burthening grief. And pythless arms like to a withered vine, that droops his sapless branches to the ground. Yet are these feet whose strengthless stay is numb, vain able to support this lump of clay, swift-winged with desire to get agraw, as witting I no other comfort haw. But tell me, keeper, will my nephew come? Keeper, Richard Plantagenet my lord will come. We sent Vientio the temple, Vientio his chamber, and answer was returned that he will come. Mort enough, my soul shall then be satisfied. Poor gentleman, his wrong doth equal mine. Since Henry Monmouth first began to reign, before whose glory I was great in arms, this loathsome sequestration hoar I had, and Ewan since then hath Richard been obscured, deprived of honour and inheritance. But now the arbitrator of despairs, erst death, kind the empire of men's miseries, with sweet enlargement doth dismiss me hence. I would his troubles likewise were expired, that so he might recover what was lost. Enter Richard. Keeper, my lord, your lowing nephew now is come. More, Richard Plantagenet my friend is he come. Rich, I noble viensically thus ignobly viest. Your nephew, late despised Richard, comes. Mort, direct mine arms I may embrace his neck, and in his bosom spend my latter gasp. O tell me when my lips do touch his cheeks, that I may kindly gie you one fainting kiss. And now declare, sweet stem from York's great stark, why didst thou say of late thou wert despised? Rich, first lean thine aged back against mine arm, and in that ease I'll tell thee my disease. This day in argument vipon a case, some words there grew twixt Somerset and me, among which terms he viest his loish tongue, and did vp braid me with my father's death, which oblaqui set bars before my tongue, else with the like I had requited him. Therefore good viensically, for my father's sake, in honour of a true Plantagenet, and for alliance sake declare the co. My father, Earl of Cambridge, lost his head. Mort, that cause, fair nephew, that imprisoned me, and hath detained me all my flowing use, within a loathsome dungeon, there to pine, was cursed instrument of his decease. Rich, discover more at large what cause that was, for I am ignorant and cannot guess. Mort, I will, if that my fading breath permit, and death approach not ere my tale be done. Henry the Fourth, grandfather to this king, deposed his nephew Richard, Edward's son, the first begotten and the lawful heir of Edward King, the third of that descent, during whose reign the Percys of the North, finding his usurpation most veniest, endured my advancement to the throne. The reason moved these warlike lords to this was for that young Richard thus removed, lowing no heir begot of his body. I was the next by birth and parentage, for by my mother I derived am from Lionel Duke of Clarence, third son, to King Edward the Third, whereas he from Ion of Gaunt doth bring his pedigree, being but fourth of that heroic line. But mark, as in this haughty great attempt they laboured to plant the rightful heir, I lost my liberty and they their lius. Long after this, when Henry V, succeeding his father Bolingbroke, did reign, thy father, Earl of Cambridge, then derived from famous Edmund Langley, Duke of York, marrying my sister that thy mother was, again in pity of my hard distress, louied an army, weening to redeem, and hor installed me in the diadem. But as the rest, so fell that noble earl, and was beheaded. Thus the Mortimers, in whom the title rested, were suppressed. Rich, of which, my lord, your honour is the last. Mort true, and thou seest that I no issue ha, and that my fainting words do warrant death. Thou art my heir, the rest I wish thee gather, but yet be wary in thy studious care. Rich, thy graw admonishments prevail with me, but yet methinks my father's execution was nothing less than bloody tyranny. Mort, with silence, nephew, be thou politic. Strong fixed is the house of Lancaster, and like a mountain not to be removed. But now thy vian secly is remowing hence, as princes do their courts when they are cloyed, with long continuance in a settled place. Rich, Ovian secly, would some part of my young years might but redeem the passage of your age. Mort, thou dost he then wrong me as wise slaughterer doth, which geueth many wounds when one will kill. Mourn not, except thou sorrow for my good. Onely geu order for my funeral, and so farewell, and fair be all thy hopes, and prosperous be thy life in peace and war. Dies. Rich and peace no war befall thy parting soul. In prison hast thou spent a pilgrimage, and like a hermit hour passed thy days. Well, I will lock his counsel in my breast, and what I do imagine let that rest. Keepers canoe him hence, and I myself will see his burial better than his life. Enter. Here dies the dusky torch of Mortimer, choked with ambition of the meaner sort, and for those wrongs, those bitter iniries, which Somerset hath offered to my house, I doubt not but with honour to redress, and therefore haste I to the Parliament, either to be restored to my blood, or make my will advantage of my good. Enter. Actus tertius, scena prima. Flourish, enter King, Exeter, Gloucester, Winchester, Warwick, Somerset, Suffolk, Richard Plantagenet. Gloucester offers to put VP a bill. Winchester snatches it, tears it. Winch, calmst thou with deep premeditated lines, with written pamphlets studiously dewised. Humphrey of Gloucester, if thou canst accuse, or aught intensity to lay vnto my charge, do it without inuntion, suddenly, as I with sudden and extemporal speech purpose to answer what thou canst obect. Glow, presumptuous priest, this place commands my patties, or thou shouldst find thou hast dishonoured me. Think not, although in writing I preferred the manner of thy vile outrageous crimes, that therefore I have forged, or am not able, verbatim to rehearse the method of my pen. No prelate, such is thy audacious wickedness, thy lewd, pestiferous and dissentious pranks, as very infants prattle of thy pride. Thou art a most pernicious visurer, froward by nature, enemy to peace, lascivious wanton, more than well beseems a man of thy profession and degree. And for thy treachery what's more manifest, in that thou laidst a trap to take my life, as well at London Bridge as at the Tower. Beside, I fear me, if thy thoughts were sifted, the king thy sour rainy is not quite exempt from injurious malice of thy swelling heart. Winch, Gloucester, I do defy thee, lords vouchsafe to me hearing what I shall reply. If I were covetous, ambitious, or perilous, as he will haul me, how am I so poor? Or how haps it I seek not to adduance, or race myself, but keep my wonted calling? And for dissension, who preferreth peace more than I do, except I be prowockt? No, my good lords, it is not that offends. It is not that hath incensed the Duke. It is because no one should sway but he. No one but he should be about the king. And that engenders thunder in his breast, and makes him roar these accusations forth. But he shall know I am as good, Gloucester as good. Thou bastard of my grandfather, winch I lordly sir, for what are you I pray? But one imperious in another's throne. Gloucester, am I not protector, saucy priest? Winch, and am not I a prelate of the church? Gloucester, yes, as an outlaw in a castle keeps, and vi saith it to patronage his theft. Winch, vn ruerant Gloucester. Gloucester, thou art ruerant, touching thy spiritual function, not thy life. Winch, Rome shall remedy this. Warwer, Rome's thither then. My lord, it were your duty to forbear. Soame, I see the bishop be not our born. Methinks my lord should be religious, and know the office that belongs to such. Warwer, methinks his lordship should be humbler. It fitteth not a prelate so to plead. Soame, yes, when his holy state is tucked so near. Warwer, state holy or vn hallowed, what of that? Is not his grace protector to the king? Rich Plantagenet I see must hold his tongue. Lest it be said, speak sorrow when you should. Must your bold verdict enter talk with lords? Else would I whore a fling at Winchester. King vn Secles of Gloucester and of Winchester, the special watchmen of our English weal. I would preul if prayers might preul. To I in your hearts in low and amity. Oh, what a scandal is it to our crown, that two such noble peers as ye should ira. Believe you me, lords, my tender years can tell. See you ill dissension is a viperous worm, that gnaws the bowels of the commonwealth. A noise within, down with the tawny coats. King, what tumult's this? Warwer and vipror I dare warrant, begun through malice of the bishop's men. A noise again, stones. Enter Mayor. Mayor, O my good lords and virtuous Henry. Pity the city of London, pity these. The bishop and the Duke of Gloucester's men, forbidden late to carry any weapon, who filled their pockets full of peeble stones, and banding themselves in contrary parts, do pelt so fast at one another's pate, that many whore their giddy brains knocked out. Our windows are broke down in Uri Street, and we for fear compelled to shut our shops, enter in skirmish with bloody pates. King, we charge you on allegiance to ourself, to hold your slaughtering hands and keep the peace. Pray vn Secles Gloucester mitigate this strife. 1 Sorrowing, nay if we be forbidden stones we'll fall to it with our teeth. 2 Sorrowing, do what ye dare we are as resolute. Skirmish again. Gloucester, you of my household lo this peewish broil, and set this vain accustomed fight aside. 3 Sorrow, my lord, we know your grace to be a man, earst and vipright, and for your royal birth, inferior to none but to his majesty, and ere that we will suffer such a prince, so kind a father of the commonweal, to be disgraced by an inkehorn mate. We and our weus and children all will fight, and whore our bodies slaughtered by thy foes. 1 Sorrow, I and the very parings of our nails shall pitch a field when we are dead. Begin agains. Gloucester, stay, I say. And if you allow me, as you say you do, let me persuade you to forbear a while. King, oh how this discord doth afflict my soul. Can you, my Lord of Winchester, behold my sighs and tears, and will not once relent? Who should be pitiful if you be not? Or who should study to prefer a peace, if holy churchmen take delight in broils? Warwer, yield, my Lord Protector, yield Winchester, except you mean with obstinate repulse to slay your sour Rainy and destroy the realmy. You see what mischief and what murther too has been enacted through your enmity. Then be at peace, except ye thirst for blood. Winch, he shall submit, or I will newer yield. Gloucester, compassion on the king commands me stoop, or I would see his heart out ere the priest should you get that privilege of me. Warwer, behold, my Lord of Winchester, the Duke, hath banished moody discontented fury, as by his smoothed brows it doth appear. Why look you still so stern and tragical? Gloucester, here Winchester, I offer thee my hand. King, fie and secretly Beaufort, I heard you preach that malice was a great and grievous sin, and will not you maintain the thing you teach, but prow a chief offender in the same? Warwer, sweet king, the bishop hath a kindly jeered. For shame, my Lord of Winchester, relent. What shall a child instruct you what to do? Winch, well, Duke of Gloucester, I will yield to thee. Low for thy low, and hand for hand I gie you. Gloucester, but I fear me with a hollow heart. See here, my friends and lowing countrymen, this token sereth for a flag of truce betwixt our sellers and all our followers. So help me God, as I dissemble not. Winch, so help me God, as I intend it not. King, O lowing and secretly, kind Duke of Gloucester, how easeful am I made by this contract. Away, my masters, trouble versus no more, but e'en in friendship, as your lords haw done. One Seru, content I'll to the surgeons. Two Seru, and so will Seru, and I will see what physic the Tower affords. Exeunt. Warwer, accept this scroll, most gracious sour Rainy, which in the right of Richard Plantagenet we do exhibit to your majesty. Glow well vrg'd, my Lord of Warwick, for sweet prince, and if your grace mark ewery circumstance, you hold great reason to do Richard right, especially for those occasions. At Eltham Place I told your majesty, King, and those occasions and secretly were of force. Therefore, my lowing lords, our pleasure is that Richard be restored to his blood. Warwer, let Richard be restored to his blood, so shall his father's wrongs be recompensed. Winch, as will the rest, so willeth Winchester. King, if Richard will be true, not that all alone, but all the whole inheritance I gie you, that doth belong vnto the house of York, from whence you spring by lineal descent. Rich, thy humble Seruant vows obedience, and humble Seruis till the point of death. King, stoop then, and set your knee against my foot, and in reguerdon of that duty done, I jeert thee with the valiant sword of York. Rise, Richard, like a true Plantagenet, and rise, created princely Duke of York. Rich, and so through you, Richard, as thy foes may fall, and as my duty springs, so perish they that grudge one thought against your majesty. All welcome, High Prince, the mighty Duke of York. Soame, perish base Prince, ignoble Duke of York. Gloucester, now will it best oil your majesty to cross the seas and to be crowned in France. The presence of a king engenders low amongst his subjects and his loyal friends, as it disanimates his enemies. King, when Gloucester says the word, King Henry goes, for friendly counsel cuts off many foes. Gloucester, your ships already are in readiness. Senate flourish exeunt. Manit exeter. Exet I we may march in England or in France, not seeing what is likely to ensue. This late dissension grown betwixt the peers burns vienda feigned ashes of forged low, and will at last break out into a flame, as festered members rot but by degree, till bones and flesh and sinews fall away. So will this base and inurious discord breed. And now I fear that fatal prophecy, which in the time of Henry Nammed the Fifth was in the mouth of Uri sucking babe, that Henry born at Monmouth should win all, and Henry born at Windsor lose all, which is so plain that Exeter doth wish his days may finish ere that hapless time. Enter Scona Secunda. Enter Pucelle disguised, with 4 soldiers with sacks upon their backs. Pucelle, these are the city gates, the gates of Rhone, through which our policy must make a breach. Take heed, be wary how you place your words. Talk like the vulgar sort of market men that come to gather money for their corn. If we haw entrance, as I hope we shall, and that we find the slothful watch but weak, I'll by a scene give you notice to our friends, that Charles the Dolphin may encounter them. Soldier, our sack shall be a mean to sack the city, and we be lords and rulers our own. Therefore we'll knock. Watch Chila. Pucelle, Pisons la Pauyer gens de France. Poor market folks that come to sell their corn. Watch, enter, go in, the market bell is rung. Pucelle, now Rhone, I'll shake thy bulwarks to the ground. Exeunt. Enter Charles, bastard Alanson. Charles, Saint Denis bless this happy stratagem, and once Agin we'll sleep secure in Rhone. Bastard, here entered Pucelle and her practisance. Now she is there, how will she specify? Here is the best and safest passage in. Rague, by thrusting out a torch from yonder tower, which once discerned, shows that her meaning is no way to that for weakness which she entered. Enter Pucelle on the top, thrusting out a torch burning. Pucelle, behold, this is the happy wedding torch that igneth Rhone vnto her countrymen, but burning fatal to the Talbonites. Bastard, see noble Charles the beacon of our friend. The burning torch in yonder turret stands. Charles, now shine it like a comet of ruinge, a prophet to the fall of all our foes. Rague, defer no time delays or dangerous ends. Enter and cry the Dolphin presently, and then do execution on the watch. Alarum. An alarum, Talbot in an excursion. Talb, France, thou shalt rue this treason with thy tears, if Talbot but sorrow you thy treachery. Pucelle, that witch, that damned sorceress, hath wrought this hellish mischief been ours, that hardly we escape the pride of France. Enter an alarum excursions, Bedford brought in sick in a chair. Enter Talbot and Burgundy without, within Pucelle Charles. Bastard end. Reignere on the walls. Pucelle, guard morrow gallants want ye corn for bread. I think the Duke of Burgundy will fast before he'll buy Agin at such a rate. 'Twas full of darnel, do you like the taste? Burg, scoff on vile fiend and shameless courtesan. I trust ere long to choke thee with thine own, and make thee curse the haroost of that corn. Charles, your grace may starru perhaps before that time. Bedf, oh let no words but deeds ruinge this treason. Pucelle, what will you do, good greybeard? Break a lance and run a tilt at death within a chair. Talb, foul fiend of France and hag of all despite, encompassed with thy lustful paramours, becomes it thee to taunt his valiant age, and twit with cowardice a man half dead? Damsel, I'll whore a boat with you Agin, or else let Talbot perish with this shame. Pucelle, are ye so hot, sir? Yet Pucelle, hold thy peace. If Talbot doe but thunder, rain will follow. They whisper together in council. God speed the Parliament, who shall be the Speaker? Talb, dare ye come forth and meet these in the field? Pucelle, belike your lordship takes these then for fools, to try if that our own be ours or no. Talb, I speak not to that railing Hecate, but VNTO the Alanson and the rest. Will ye, like soldiers, come and fight it out? Alans, seigneur no. Talb, seigneur hang, base mulators of France. Like peasant footboys do they keep the walls, and dare not take VP arms like gentlemen. Pucelle, away captains, let's get these from the walls. For Talbot means no goodness by his looks. God be I my lord, we came but to tell you that we are here. Exeunt from the walls. Talb, and there will we be too ere it be long. Or else reproach be Talbot's greatest fame. Thou Burgundy, by honour of thy house, pricked on by public wrongs sustained in France, either to get the town again or die. And I, as sure as English Henry Lewes, and as his father here was conqueror, as sure as in this late betrayed town great Cordelian's heart was buried, so sure I swear to get the town or die. Burg, my vows are equal partners with thy vows. Talb, but ere we go, regard this dying prince, the valiant Duke of Bedford. Come, my lord, we will bestow you in some better place, fitter for sickness and for crazy age. Bedf, Lord Talbot, do not so dishonour me. Here will I sit before the walls of Rhone, and will be partner of your weal or woe. Burg, courageous Bedford, let these now persuade you. Bedf, not to be gone from hence, for once I read that stout Pendragon in his litter sick came to the field and vanquished his foes. Methinks I should rue you the soldiers' hearts, because I you found them as myself. Talb, the undaunted spirit in a dying breast. Then be it so, Hoens keep old Bedford safe. And now no more ado, Bra Burgundy, but gather we our forces out of hand, and set Vipon our boasting enemy. Enter an alarum excursions, enter Sir Ion Falstaff and a captain. Capt, whither away Sir Ion Falstaff in such haste? Falst, whither away, to soar myself by flight. We are like to whore the hour throw again. Capt, what, will you fly and lo Lord Talbot? Falst, I all the Talbots in the world to soar my life. Enter. Capt, cowardly knight, ill fortune follow thee. Enter. Retreat excursions, Pucelle, Alanson and Charles fly. Bedf, now quiet soul, depart when Hoen please. For I horse seen our enemies overthrow. What is the trust or strength of foolish man? They that of late were daring with their scoffs, are glad and fain by flight to soar themselves. Bedford dies and is carried in by two in his chair. An alarum, enter Talbot, Burgundy and the rest. Talb, lost and recowered in a day again. This is a double honour, Burgundy. Yet Hoens haul glory for this victory. Burg, warlike and martial Talbot, Burgundy, inshreens thee in his heart, and there erects thy noble deeds as valour's monuments. Talb, thanks gentle Duke, but where is Pucelle now? I think her old familiar is asleep. Now where's the bastard's bras and Charles his glikes? What all amort, Rhone hangs her head for grief, that such a valiant company are fled. Now will we take some order in the town, placing therein some expert officers, and then depart to Paris to the king, for there young Henry with his nobles lie. Burg, what wills Lord Talbot pleaseth Burgundy? Talb, but yet before we go let's not forget the noble Duke of Bedford, late deceased, but see his exequies fulfilled in Rhone. A brower soldier newer couched lance, a gentler heart did newer sway in court. But kings and mightiest potentates must die, for that's the end of humane misery. Exeunt. Scena tertia. Enter Charles, bastard Alanson Pucelle. Pucelle, dismay not princes at this accident, nor gree you that Rhone is so recowered. Care is no cure, but rather corrose you, for things that are not to be remedied. Let frantic Talbot triumph for a while, and like a peacock sweep along his tail. We'll pull his plumes and take away his train, if Dolphin and the rest will be but rulled. Charles, we have been guided by thee hitherto, and of thy cunning had no diffidence. One sudden foil shall newer breed distrust. Bastard, search out thy wit for secret policies, and we will make thee famous through the world. Allans, we'll set thy statue in some holy place, and whore thee ruaranked like a blessed saint. Employ thee then, sweet virgin, for our good. Pucelle, then thus it must be, this doth I endures. By fair persuasions, mixed with sugrid words, we will entice the Duke of Burgundy to loe the Talbot and to follow Vise. Charles, I merry Sweding if we could do that. France were no place for Henry's warriors, nor should that nation boast it so with Vise, but be extirped from our provinces. Allans, for ewer should they be expulsed from France, and not whore title of an earldom here. Pucelle, your honours shall perceive you how I will work to bring this matter to the wished end. Drum sounds afar off. Hark, by the sound of drum you may perceive you. Their powers are marching VNTO Perisward. Here sound an English march. There goes the Talbot with his colours spread, and all the troops of English after him. French march. Now in the reward comes the Duke and his. Fortune in 4 makes him lag behind. Summon a parley, we will talk with him. Trumpets sound a parley. Charles, a parley with the Duke of Burgundy. Berg, who craws a parley with the Burgundy. Pucelle, the princely Charles of France, thy countryman. Berg, what say'st thou, Charles, for I am marching hence. Charles, speak Pucelle and enchant him with words. Pucelle, braw Burgundy, the undoubted hope of France. Stay, let thy humble handmaid speak to thee. Berg, speak on, but be not our tedious. Pucelle, look on thy country, look on fertile France, and see the cities and the towns defact by wasting ruin of the cruel foe, as looks the mother on her lowly babe, when death doth close his tender dying eyes. See the pining malady of France. Behold the wounds, the most natural wounds, which thou thyself hast due in her waffle breast. O turn thy edged sword another way. Strike those that hurt, and hurt not those that help. One drop of blood drawn from thy country's bosom should gree you thee more than streams of foreign gore. Return thee therefore with a flood of tears, and wash away thy country's stained spots. Berg, either she hath bewitched me with her words, or nature makes me suddenly relent. Pucelle, besides all French and France exclaims on thee, doubting thy birth and lawful progeny. Who ain't thou with but with a lordly nation, that will not trust thee but for profit's sake? When Talbot hath set footing once in France, and fashioned thee that instrument of ill, who then but English Henry will be lord, and thou be thrust out like a fugitive? Call we to mind and mark but this for proof. Was not the Duke of Orleans thy foe? And was he not in England prisoner? But when they heard he was thine enemy, they set him free without his ransom paid. in spite of Burgundy and all his friends. See then thou fight'st against thy countrymen, and einst with them will be thy slaughtermen. Come, come, return, return thou wandering lord. Charles and the rest will take thee in their arms. Burg, I am vanquished. These haughty words of hers whole battered me like roaring cannon shot, and made me almost yield upon my knees. Forge you me country and sweet countrymen, and lords accept this hearty kind embrace. My forces and my power of men are yours. So farewell Talbot, I'll no longer trust thee. Pucelle, done like a Frenchman, turn and turn again. Charles, welcome broad Duke, thy friendship makes versus fresh bastard, and doth beget new courage in our breast. Allen's, Pucelle hath brawly played her part in this, and doth deserve a coronet of gold. Charles, now let these on, my lords, and eyen our powers, and seek how we may prejudice the foe. Exeunt. Scone a quarter. Enter the King, Gloucester, Winchester, York, Suffolk, Somerset, Warwick, Exeter, to them with his soldiers Talbot. Talb, my gracious prince and honourable peers, hearing of your original in this realmy, I horror while genuine truce vnto my wars, to do my duty to my sour rainy, in scene whereof this arm that hath reclaimed to your obedience 50 fortresses, 12 cities and sewen walled towns of strength, beside few hundred prisoners of esteem. Let's fall his sword before your highness' feet, and with submissive loyalty of heart, ascribes the glory of his conquest got, first to my God, and next vnto your grace. King, is this the Lord Talbot vn Gloucester, that hath so long been resident in France? Glast, yes, if it please your majesty, my liege. King, welcome braw captain and victorious lord. When I was young, as yet I am not old, I do remember how my father said, a stouter champion knew a handled sword. Long since we were resolute of your truth, your faithful service and your toil in war, yet knew how you tasted our reward, or been regarded with so much as thanks, because till now we never saw your face. Therefore stand VP, and for these good deserts, we here create you Earl of Shrewsbury, and in our coronation take your place. Senate flourish exeunt. Manet Vernon and Basset. Vern, now sir, to you that were so hot at sea, disgracing of these colours that I wear, in honour of my noble Lord of York, darst thou maintain the former words thou spak'st? Bass, yes sir, as well as you dare patronage the annuious barking of your saucy tongue against my lord the Duke of Somerset. Vern, sirrah, thy lord I honour as he is. Bass, why what is he, as good a man as York? Vern, hark ye not so, in witness take ye that. Strikes him. Bass, villain, thou knowest, the law of arms is such, that whoso draws a sword, tease present death, or else this blow should broach thy dearest blood. But I'll vnto his majesty, and craw, I may haw liberty to venge this wrong. When thou shalt see, I'll meet thee to thy cost. Vern, well miscreant, I'll be there as soon as you, and after meet you sooner than you would. Exeunt. Actus quartus, scena prima. Enter King, Gloucester, Winchester, York, Suffolk, Somerset, Warwick, Talbot and Gowernor Exeter. Glow, Lord Bishop set the crown upon his head. Win, God saw King Henry of that name the sixth. Glow, now Gowernor of Paris, take your oath, that you elect no other king but him. Esteem none friends, but such as are his friends. and none your foes but such as shall pretend malicious practices against his state. This shall ye do, so help you righteous God. Enter Falstaff. Foul, my gracious sour rainy, as I rode from Calais, to haste VNTO your coronation. A letter was delivered to my hands, writ to your grace from Th Duke of Burgundy. Tal, shame to the Duke of Burgundy and thee. I vowed, base knight, when I did meet the next, to tear the garter from thy crone's leg, which I haw done because, VN worthily, thou wast installed in that high degree. Pardon me, princely Henry, and the rest. This dastard at the battle of Poictiers, when but in all I was 6,000 strong, and that the French were almost 10 to 1, before we met, or that a stroke was genuine, like to a trusty squire, did run away, in which assault we lost 1,200 men. Myself and Dewar's gentlemen beside were there surprised and taken prisoners. Then urge, great lords, if I haw done amiss, or whether that such cowards ought to wear this ornament of knighthood, yea or no. Glow, to say the truth, this fact was infamous, and ill beseeming any common man, much more a knight, a captain, and a leader. Tal, when first this order was ordained, my lords, knights of the Garter were of noble birth, valiant and virtuous, full of haughty courage, such as were grown to credit by the wars, not fearing death nor shrinking for distress, but always resolute in most extremes. He then that is not furnished in this sort doth but usurp the sacred name of knight, profaning this most honourable order, and should, if I were worthy to be urge, be quite degraded, like a hedge-born swain, that doth presume to boast of gentle blood. Stain to thy countrymen, thou hear'st thy doom. Be pecking therefore, thou that wast a knight. Henceforth we banish thee on pain of death.